Hey y'all, how y'all doing? I'm back with a new video. I wanted to start the video off with Pride and Joy by my favorite artist, one of my favorite artists, Marvin Gaye. And you know, Marvin Gaye is in the news right now, and it's for people stealing his song. But I'm not even going to go there. It's not even about a bad video throwing shade to anybody. Well, that was shade. But it's all about him, and it's all about his music and what he's impacted to the world and how his music is still relevant today. And I just want to give a little tribute to him. And basically, yes. So I want to start this video. First of all, let me get a good drink, because this is going to be a good video. I like Svetka vodka. Good drink. It's a good drink. Hopefully I can get some advertisement from that. Come on, Svetka. I drink you all the time. So get us a little drink here. And so Marvin Gaye, I was introduced to Marvin Gaye in South Carolina by my mother. When she was in South Carolina, and she went to South Carolina State, a graduate, 1995, big up. And she was a big Motown fan. Big Motown fan. She was a ridiculously big Motown fan. And a lot of times, I don't know the stations. If I could be off, but the stations were Quickie 93.9, and on Sundays and on Saturdays, if I'm not mistaken, Friday nights and Sunday nights, they will play old soul music like Motown, and then they will go from Motown, and then they'll go to Bobby Womack in the 70s and Tyrone Davis. So that's how I really started to really get my music background from that, because that's all my mother played. Even though she played some of the new music and the current music during the 90s, but that was what we played a lot, because, you know, what we listened to on the radio. So she was a big Motown fan, as I said. And this was actually the first song that I learned all the words to. It's crazy. It is really crazy. But it was my first actually song that I learned at 5 years old. Now, this is it. And it goes like this. Come on. I'm sorry, y'all. And I take every drop of rain and wash all your troubles away. I'm only gonna give y'all a little bit. But that was the first song that I have ever learned. And my mother was Tammy and I was Marvin, and we just sang and sang, and I knew all those words. I wish I could have gave y'all when my mother could have been right here, and we could have kind of did a little performance for y'all. But it's all good. But I don't want to jump too ahead, because that's really like, I started with Pride and Joy, and I started with If I Can Build My Whole World Around You. I don't want to go that far yet, so I want to give you a little background so we can go forward. So let me take a little drink. This is going. Good. So Marvin was born on August. The drink ain't hit just yet. But he was born on April the 2nd, 1939. And that day is very special to my family, because he shares the same birthday as my grandma. Hi, Grandma. Yeah, I shouted you out in the video. Yeah, everybody know your birthday now, so you can be mad. But it's her birthday, and they share the same birthday. So that day is very special to us, because it's her birthday, and we celebrate her birthday. And we know, like, sometimes we turn on the radio or turn on the TV, they're playing Marvin because it's his birthday. So, you know, but anyway, he started singing in church when he was like 4 years old, and his father would definitely help him play the piano. But him and his father didn't have the greatest relationship, and the further I get along, the more you will see why. Basically, you know, him and his father didn't have a good relationship at all. So when he was a teenager, you know, Marvin Gaye's father kicked him out. So what Marvin did, what he did was that his father kicked him out, and Marvin saw music as an inspiration for him, so he joined a lot of doo-wop groups then, and then he went to the Army. You know, he figured, you know, let me go to the Army, you know, but Marvin faked the sickness, come to find out, because he was discharged, but he faked the sickness. But I don't think Marvin could really take being, you know, how can I say it? You know, your father was very, very abusive and very demanding, and then you go into the Army and then you have somebody screaming at you and yelling at you, and you know during that time, you know, racism was definitely a lot, so he had to deal with a little bit worse than what his father was doing. So I don't think that was a good space for Marvin, to be honest with you. So so I don't think that was a really good idea for him to join the Army. So, but he was discharged, and when he got back, he got with this group called the Marquis. And their first single was, I'm gonna pronounce it right, it's called What Earp. I hope I'm saying it right. And it goes a little something like this. I love you, Marvin. I love you. I love you. I love you. But that right there, I couldn't get with that. No. I could not get with that. But you got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. So the group, the single failed. It failed. So Marvin with Harvey, his name is Harvey Fuqua. He was part of the Moon Glows. And, you know, Marvin moved to Chicago, and they signed with Chess Records in 1959. And Marvin sung his first lead, you know, with the group, and it's called Mama Lucci. Now, when you listen to this song, to me, it was already foreshadowing what Marvin was going to give us. And it goes like this.
Mama Lucci, she's a brand new coochie. Ding dong, baby. Now I don't need a baby mine. Oh, yeah.
Now, I'm not going to say that part after Marvin, like, little intro, but don't y'all hear the hand claps? I wonder where that comes from. But, you know, that was Marvin's, I guess, first coming out as a solo. That was his first, you know, solo that he could have done. But I was listening to this interview, and he said that he really didn't feel comfortable in the group. The group didn't make him feel comfortable. So with that, the group broke up, and Marvin moved to Detroit, and he went to Berry Gordy's house, and basically that is going to change the dynamic of his life. He went to Berry Gordy's house, and he sung, and Berry Gordy liked what he heard, and he signed Marvin to Motown. Now, when Marvin first signed to Motown, he had that Nat King Cole kind of vibe. It was very jazz and very standard type. He wanted to be more like a Nat King Cole and a Sam Cooke kind of vibe. It wasn't really soul that we really know Marvin. Don't get me wrong, jazz and blues and all that you have is definitely soul. But Marvin, to me, when you heard, because I actually liked the album, to be honest with you, because I enjoyed Sam Cooke, and Sam Cooke sung these type of songs. But in my opinion, I don't think Marvin's voice really suited it, because I guess I'm so used to hearing that little growl that Marvin gave, and in these standards, he didn't really give that. But, you know, I like the album still. I still have it. I enjoy it. I listen to it. But it really didn't, I guess the world didn't feel it, because I guess that wasn't what we already had Nat King Cole, and we already had our Sam Cooke. And by that time, I think a lot more soul was coming in, and I think that wasn't the route that Marvin should have took. But here's a song called Easy Living. It's nice, but I'll let you guys listen to it for yourselves.
Living for you is easy living. It's easy to live when you're in love.
You see what I'm saying? Marvin kind of had that Nat King Cole going. And I don't know, maybe we're used to what we have in Marvin, and we know a lot of the songs and the soul and all that he has. And I guess the world really don't understand it. But it's a gem, and I would recommend, if you are a Marvin fan, I think you would have it. But it maybe won't be the most played, but you will have it. It will be in your collection. So with that, the album didn't do so well. The album didn't do well at all. And Marvin went back into songwriting and producing. And what people are really shocked, what I was shocked, that I found out that Marvin wrote for the Marvelettes and he wrote for the Miracles. But the biggest hit that he wrote for the Marvelettes, because y'all know the Marvelettes is Don't Mess With Bill. No, 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 don't mess with Bill, leave my Billy alone. Or, please, Mr. Postman, please, please, Mr. Postman. Y'all know that. But Marvin wrote Beechwood 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. You can call me up and have a date any old time. Him and Smokey wrote that song together. I was shocked. I did not know that. But what I understand, Marvin was getting his hustle on, if you ask me. I felt as though that he was definitely getting his hustle on, and it was definitely involving him as an artist, which definitely helped him on in years to come, because we really adapt to that songwriting that Marvin did. So, you know, so finally in 1962, Marvin recorded his first breakout hit that we all know. And he was really reluctant to do it because he really wanted that jazz type of Nat King Cole. That was one of his inspirations. But he knew that it didn't work. And the only way for him to cross over is to write a soul record. Because I think by then you had the Miracles that came out with Shop Around, and you had the Isleys come out with Twist and Shout by then, and the Contours, I think, Do You Love Me? I could be wrong. I think it might have came out a year after Marvin. But you had those type of songs. And I think Marvin knew that if he did this song, it would cross him over to the appeal and get him the how can I say it? It can give him the stardom that he needed, you know, and what he needed. And, you know, he wrote this song, and I love it. And this is where everything begins.
I guess I'm just disturbing. Never felt got my mind made up to love you. Wow. Say yeah, yeah, yeah. Say yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hey, all right, yeah. That sounds good, didn't it? Oh, that sounds great. So with that, he came out with his first album, which was entitled Stubborn Kinda Fella, and he had 3 hits off that album. The first one's the one that I came in with, Pride and Joy, and then the Stubborn Kinda Fella. And he had a song where it was kind of a little dance to it. Well, I know, because he did it on Shing Ding, because then Shing Ding was very popular, and he did it on Shing Ding, and I love it. I love the dance. I love the dance, and it's called this. Do the hitchhike. So, yeah, I love that part when he says that. But right then and there, Marvin became a breakout success. Now he was on the map, so he started to go on the tour that everybody knows, the Motortown tour, and he would kill it on stage. And at the Apollo Theater, I saw this performance on YouTube where he was at the Apollo Theater and he murdered it. And they was doing 5 and 6 shows a night back then. That's crazy. Like stars these days do one big show and then they go on to the next night. They was doing 5 and 6 and 7 shows a night. That is crazy. But then after Marvin with that, they paired him up with his first lady duet, and his duet partner, and her name is Mary Wells. And we all know Mary Wells is nothing you can say can tear me away from my God. Her. So they put them together, and they made an album called Together. And one of the big songs off of it was What's the Matter with Your Baby? And it goes like this. Yeah. Hurry up, hurry up. Oh, I got a feeling. That sounds good to me. I don't care. Okay, so I ain't gonna let it ride too long because I know YouTube sometimes be acting crazy. But, you know, so Marvin became the hitman then. It was just like, that was it. It was just like, they can put Marvin with anybody, but during that time, he had a couple of hits on his own, still doing his thing and still popping, and I'm going to play maybe, you know, a few of them so we can get, you know, just a little bit, because I don't want YouTube to knock our page off, so I'm going to just give y'all a little bit. Y'all know the song. And we gonna go this way. And we gonna end it with this. Now, that song allegedly is being also going to court. The Marvin Gaye family allegedly is supposed to be going to court. I never believed that, first of all, because first of all, Marvin didn't write that song. So whoever brought that out is the BS. I mean, clearly we all know that Pharrell was definitely inspired by that song with his song Happy. But that song, no, that is a negative. And it come to find out that that's not true. The Marvin Gaye family is not suing for that song. They got for the right song. But like I said, it ain't no negative stuff. I just wanted to add a little bit in there because Marvin is all over the news. So I wanted to, you know, address that a little bit. So now Marvin has hits. He have a duet with Mary Wells. He has songs on his own and all that good stuff. So they partner him up with another female. And they make a classic that so many people have remade. And it's a beautiful record. And it's definitely a record for two people that's in love. And it goes something I like of this. like to, baby, me and you, just like to. Woo, woo, woo. All right, enough. So, in 1967, he got with his third female, and her name was Tammy Terrell. Now, Tammy Terrell's background, she used to sing with James Brown, and she had her little solo career, but it really went nowhere. So they felt Marvin can work with any woman. And they got him with the writers Nick Ashford and Valerie Simpson, and those two made beautiful music. Now, allegedly, there was a rumor going around with them two was together. I mean, the music sounded like, if you didn't, you thought they was together, but God just made their voices match. You know, it's just what it was. I don't think they slept with each other. That's why it kind of bothered me when people compared their relationship to Lauryn Hill and Wyclef, and said that Wyclef, when them two was with the Fugees and they broke up and everybody was just like, oh, they had a Marvin and Tammy relationship. Yeah, technically they did, but they didn't, because Wyclef come out, they really slept with each other. These two never did. Allegedly. I don't think they did. I just think they were brother and sister like, because Valerie Simpson, even in the interview, would do stuff to make Marvin kind of get more into the song. I mean, you got to live with the song, and you make beautiful music like that. I think that's great. And I think those two they are the king and queens of duets, in my opinion. If you want to make a good duet, listen to a lot of their music, a lot of their songs. If you don't have their greatest hits, go get it. But y'all going to get a medley right now, because those two made beautiful music. I don't care what nobody say. And they are the best duets. If you want a duet, go to them. And I'm going to give y'all a little sample. And I know if my mother is on the other end, and I just wish she would just sit right here, because we could have gave y'all a good performance. But it's all good. And I'm going to start y'all with this one. And now I got a song to sing, telling the world about the joy you bring. I'm gonna go to this one next. Like the real thing, baby. Ain't nothing like the real thing. Oh no, ain't nothing like the real thing, baby. Ain't nothing like the real thing. Oh, honey, I got your picture hanging on the wall, and I can't see. Come to me when I call your name. I realize it's such a picture in a dream. I read your letter. Oh, I know y'all rocking with me, but I'm gonna go this way. Tammy will go off in this video. Her little dance. Go watch the video. She does that. Now, I'm going to end it, their medley, with, I think everybody considers the best duet from them. And it is amazing. And I think everybody loves it from them. And beautiful, beautiful. I think that's a beautiful medley. They have a lot more songs and a lot more hits, but those was a couple of songs that just showed the great duets that they had. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was magic. It was just magic. And you know, I'm so glad that, you know, in 1995, you know, every time we do a video, I gotta throw her in here. Mary and Method made a remake, a duet, but it was more of a hip hop duet, and they got a Grammy for it. So, you know, it was just beautiful. That's what I like about in the 90s. What they did was they showed respect back then to the music, and they showed respect and they gave respect. You know what I'm saying? Like, you give songwriting credit to the people that wrote it. So if you look on Method Man's album, he gave credit to Valerie Simpson and Nick Ashford. That's what you do. You give respect. And see, the respect ended up winning him a Grammy. Him and Mary won a Grammy for that song. You get respect for that. And that's why, you know, I'm going to go a little later with it, but, you know, things happen. That's all I got to say. Things happen when you don't do it right. And, you know, I'm so glad that they did it. And, you know, I'm going to just give y'all a little snippet,
Like sweet morning dew, I took one look at you, and it was plain to see you were my destiny. You're all I need, to get by.
Not. Gave y'all a little bit. Oh, this music is sounding so good, y'all. It's sounding so good. Mind you, we're like 27 minutes in, and I'm only in the 60s Marvin, and we didn't get to the 70s Marvin yet. But, so, in 1968, Marvin made one of the best covers of all time, in my opinion. Now, Gladys, baby, you are my favorite singer of all time. You top Aretha for me. You top Patty for me. Just something in your voice that just does something to me. But I know you made this song first. But when Marvin put his touch on it, the song became his. And it was amazing. And I give y'all a little sample. Every time I think about this song, I just think about, I don't know, it was like, you know, back in the 90s, they had the Raisins. The Raisins, they did a video, and they used to sing all the old songs like Stevie Wonder and Marvin Gaye. And every time I think about this song, I think about the video with the Raisins dancing. I don't know what it's called, but I just remember it. And I'm going to give y'all a little sample of, oh my God, Marvin bodied this. Bodied it. Amazing. Another one again. Now, wasn't that beautiful? I would have loved to play the whole song for y'all. Technically, that's why I do this, because I want to do a radio station where I can just play all these songs and just play it and even connect it to the new, but oh, that sounds so good. But I'm going to give y'all a little taste of what Gladys did back in 1966, because her and the Pips made it first, and it went a little like this. Okay, now with that, I'm gonna go. Now we're kind of getting. Now, before I get into that, who version do you like better? Put in the comment box. You like Marvin's version better, or you might like Gladys's version better? Who knows? So we go, and now we're into like 68, 69. Now music is starting to change. It's starting to become a little bit more political, and people have a lot to say because we had the Vietnam War going on. And Marvin started working with Norman Whitfield, because Norman Whitfield did the production of his version of I Heard It Through the Grapevine. And Marvin's voice started to change, as you can hear from the 60s to the 70s. His voice started to change. And I think his work with Norman Whitfield was one of the best things that could have happened, because it changed Marvin musically. I think Marvin felt like he was getting stuck in a box. And his album, That's the Way Love Is, which is another one of my favorite Marvin songs, you know, I think Marvin started to get a little stuck because he had a lot to say, because there was a lot going on then. And I'm gonna give y'all a little bit of That's the Way Love Is. He did it in like 1969, but it came out in 70. And I think Marvin wanted to talk about what he talked about on the next classic album, but you know, the production of it kind of changed Marvin and made him want to do his own thing and be more soulful rather than that soul pop, if you feel what I'm saying. So this is how this goes. Now, y'all can't tell me that you're not hearing a different voice from Marvin. You can kind of hear it during the recordings of him and Tammy Terrell, because All I Need to Get By and that, you kind of hear the little husky coming out of him a little bit. But Norman brought a lot more of that out. And you could tell Marvin was on his way to do something really political, because on that album, That's the Way Love Is, he does a song called Abraham, Martin, and John. And that song is very political. If you don't know it, a lot of people have covered it. I would recommend you go listen to it. So by then, we should have already known that Marvin was, because the world was changing. So some sad news. It was 1970, and Tammy Terrell died from a brain tumor. And Marvin kind of went into a little isolation because, you know, during this time, you know, Tammy died. You know, Marvin felt like he was stifled with Motown because he wanted to do other music. You know, he was getting, his brother was in Vietnam, and his brother was sending him letters about what was going on, and he had a lot to say, and he felt like, you know, he wanted to talk about it. He wanted to talk about what was going on with racism in the Vietnam War. These brothers was coming home and had to deal with a lot of racism. Mind you, they just fought for their country, and then they come back, got to deal with, you know, inner city problems and not working and jobs and all this kind of stuff. And Marvin wanted to do that. So in 1970, you know, he went in and created the song What's Going On. Now in 1970 now, this is 1970, mind you, and he created this song, and he let Barry hear it, and Barry said that was the worst song he ever heard in his life. And Marvin was very, very, you could tell Marvin probably was very hurt by that. But you know what I like on what Marvin did then, and I think a lot of artists these days should do that now, especially R&B artists, You should take a stand on what you believe in. And Barry Gordy felt like it was just too political to talk about. Mind you, the shape of the world has changed. It's not everybody, yeah, it's about peace, but everybody wants to talk about what's really going on. And the Vietnam War was so popular. So Barry was so interested in, let's just make the soul pop and do that and, you know, slow it up a little, but let's not be too political. So I love that an A&R at Motown Records actually sent it out without Barry's permission. And the song just blew up. The song just blew up. So Barry comes to Marvin and said, can you record an album in 30 days? You have 30 days. Now, if I was Marvin, I'd have told him to kiss my behind. because you just diss my music. But see, that just tells you that the people speaks. The people just talk. That's what it is. We are the consumer. A lot of these record labels that's top of these record labels don't know what's going on in the world. They mention in the money. There's stuff going on in the world that people want to hear and people want to know what these artists feel. And why not do that? So when the song blew up, Marvin did it, and Marvin made one of the best albums of all time. It's my second favorite album of all time. It's very political. It is beautiful. Marvin did his thing. And you know, once you hear this, everybody knows what's about to be played. Mother, mother, ooh, there's too many of you crying. Brother, 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 ooh, there's far too many of you dying. You know we got to find a way to bring some loving here today. Oh, then I'm going to go this way. Yeah. Dum 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 dum. Dum 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 dum. Yeah. Go this way. Whoa, oh mercy, mercy me. Y'all, didn't that sound good? That album is amazing. If you have never listened to that album, you're bugging. Go listen to that album. Album is amazing from 1 to 9. So, album is amazing. He gets political. He gets religious with God is Love, which is one of my favorites on the album. Because he talks about love and he puts the commandments in there. Love your mother, she born you, love your father. Now, mind you, him and his father was beefing, but he still abide by what the Bible said. You see, I just love how he put the Bible. He was political. He was talking about love. He was talking about what the changes in the world, what blacks was going through then, the men in the Revolutionary War, the men in the Vietnam War coming home, black men had to deal with, and he talked about it. You know what I'm saying? Then drugs, flying high in the friendly skies, a lot of them used a lot of drugs to deal with the issues. They dealt with life by just taking drugs, being heroin addicts. Like, it was bad, and Marvin talked about it in his music, and that's why I am just amazed. Like, the album is amazing, and he told Barry, I will never record for you ever again if I'm not able to bring this song out. Even though Barry didn't listen then, but I'm so glad that A&R put that out, so Marvin was able to bless us with a brilliant album. Brilliant. I mean, just ask John Legend with All of Me. All of Me. He had to put that out, and it took forever for people to get on it. But when people got on it, oh, they got on it. That was people wedding songs. Like, that's a lot of A&Rs can't tell you, and a lot of labels, the big dogs of these record labels can swear that they know what sells. No, you don't. You really don't. You think you do, but the world changes every day, and people have a lot of things to say. When they hear somebody like Marvin saying what they want to say, that's it, and it just blew up. So like I said, I'm glad that A&R made a bold move like that, because we need a lot of that these days as well. We need a lot of bold moves made these days, because maybe we have a lot of better music. Hello? Yeah, that was shade. I drink to that. So back to Marvin anyway. So now he has what's going on under his belt, which inspired so many artists like Stevie Wonder. It would be no Intervisions if there was no What's Going On. Period. It wouldn't have been. It wouldn't have been. I don't care what nobody said. It wouldn't have been no Intervisions or no First Finale if it wasn't for What's Going On. I'm sorry, it wouldn't have been, because there was nobody getting as political as Marvin was. And actually, Stevie brought out his album right after Marvin did, and see, people was not really going for it because a lot of people were so used to Stevie with If You Really Love Me and songs very popish, and he does an album like that, and Marvin had already did What's Going On. They didn't believe it, so Stevie had to find his own way, and he did Intervisions, which is a brilliant album as well. So Marvin influenced a lot of people with that album on What's Going On. Brilliant. I recommend it for anybody to have it in your collection. So next, now that Marvin has that under his belt, now this album that I'm going to talk about next is really kind of special to me, because this is really, I really was introduced to the 70s Marvin. Like, don't get me wrong, I heard What's Going On in Intercity Blues and Mercy Mercy Me and Woly Holy so many times, but I never heard the whole album in full. So I never was really introduced. I just was like, oh, that's Marvin. But I was introduced to the 70s album by my grandfather's brother. His name is Willie. And we call him Uncle Junior. And Uncle Junior, hopefully you're doing well, Uncle Junior. We all praying for you. And we went to his house in Queens. It was me, my mom, and my uncle, and we had just moved back up to New Jersey. And we moved up to New Jersey, and we walked into his house, and I could just remember him having all these records and all this stuff, like, in his house. And I was just speechless, because, mind you, my grandparents had I saw more of the 8-tracks that they had. They had the records and, you know, the albums and the 45s, but my uncle had it so scattered, and it looked like he had it so stacked neatly in the cabinets and things like that, and it just was amazing, and I was just speechless. And my mother and uncle was like, look, we done saw that for years, but I was just amazed by it, just like I was with the 8-tracks when I first saw it. So my Uncle Junior looked at me, and he said, he's like, oh, okay, Junior, you're interested. And I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm interested by this. And he said, what you want me to play? What you want to hear? And I said, I want to hear Marvin. I want to hear some Marvin. So I thought he was going to bring out, you know, I heard it through the grapevine, or I thought he was going to bring out, you know, even that I knew what was going on then, but I didn't think. But he brought out this album. And now, this album is maybe my least played, because I haven't heard it. I heard it all the way through, but I only heard it a couple of times. But I can always remember the album cover when Uncle Junior brought it out, and it was the big album, and Marvin was sitting on there with, I think, a beige suit. And he had his feet up, and I would always look at the bottom of his shoe, because the bottom of his shoe was all messed up. You could tell it was his shoes, but then at the bottom, whoever the soundtrack was about, the guy had like a gun in his hand. It was like black at the bottom, and it was like beige at the top. Marvin was at the top, and at the bottom, you had Mr. T, if that's I think that's him, because the song's on the album. But this is the, you know, even though the album was cycling through, but this is the song that really caught my attention off that album, off that soundtrack, I should say, and it was this.
I got a problem, but that's okay, 'cause trouble man don't really know ways. I got a problem, I've been for real, baby.
Yeah. Now that album was mainly about more of the music. It wasn't solely about the words. It was more about the music. The music was epic. Oh my God. This is when Marvin, this is the era, I can say, starting with What's Going On and now into Trouble Man, when Marvin became his own artist. When he was producing his own, he was writing his own, he was doing everything. Now, that album, What's Going On, should have won Album of the Year. But, of course, it didn't. But it should have, because he played everything on it. No, like, he had the Funk Brothers and everything, but he produced the album, and he wrote all the songs, and he started becoming an artist, and Trouble Man was just as brilliant as that. Now, that might not be one of the albums that I play often, but if this cycles through, because I normally have my thing on shuffle, I will definitely hear Trouble Man. Like, that song comes in and is amazing. And I love Angie Stone's version of Trouble Man on her Black Diamond album, her classic 1999 Black Diamond album. The way she does Trouble Man was amazing as well. And so now we go into 1973, and Marvin becomes the sex symbol with Let's Get It On album. What I come to find out, that Let's Get It On really wasn't going to be a sexual album. Like, it really wasn't. It really wasn't going to be a sexual album. But you know, him and Anna was going through their problems. You know, I don't talk a lot about Anna because that's Marvin's personal life, which I'm going to talk about a little later, but this was his personal life, so I really didn't discuss it in the beginning. But him and his wife, Anna Gordy, which was Berry Gordy's sister, was going through it during this time. And he, you know, did this album, and Jan, his future second wife, was in the studio when he was doing, you know, Let's Get It On. And Let's Get It On was supposed to become from a religious, according to him, and I forgot the guy that helped him write this record. He said it was supposed to be religious, but he saw Jan in the studio session. He was like, I wanna get it on. That ad-lib right there was dedicated to her. Did not know that. But, you know, Marvin came out with the 1973, which is also a classic, Let's Get It On. And, of course, we all know at first when we hear this, that's it. And it's just like, boom, everybody knows it. Give y'all a little bit of a sample. My mother wanted me to play this. We was just talking about this today, and it's crazy. We was talking about this today, and she was singing it to me, y'all. And I was like, Mom, what are you singing? And she was like, you don't know it. And mind you, I've been listening to Marvin all week. And she was like, you don't know this? So I'm going to play this for her. If it plays. So that was good. I played that for you, Mom, and that song is Come Get To This, and that song, epic. And then he had Distant Lover, but Distant Lover to me, it was popular, but the next live album is going to be the part that I played. But then he also dedicated to his wife. This is when people started putting, well, Marvin to me started, and when you start putting your personal life into it, and the song was called Just to Keep You Satisfied. In the beginning, he said, you were my wife, my life.
You were my wife, my life, my hopes and dreams.
He was dedicating that to his wife. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, he started putting his personal life into his music. Now it was just like Marvin could be religious, he can be sexual, he can be political, and now it's like, where else do you go? You go into your personal life. So he started making songs about his personal life. So then the next one is one of my favorite live albums by Marvin Gaye. Favorite live albums by him. And I did not know that Marvin had stage fright. I really did not know that. I really didn't know that, but it darn sure didn't seem like that. And he made Distant Lover off the Let's Get It On album that I just talked about. But it seemed like this is the only version that they play, because I don't even hear the original version anymore. They play this, and you be like, whoa, and them girls lose their mind.
Let's sing now, so we hope you enjoy. You know, Egypt, come over here, sit and wonder.
Hold on.
It's like, distant love.
You see, them girls went crazy. They went nuts when they heard that thing, man. They lost their ever-loving mind. And by then, Marvin was just the it guy, period. He was just the it guy. So we get into one of the albums that I learned about in college. That it wasn't a big play for me, but I learned about it. My grandparents had it on 8-track. I do remember this album, but I just didn't play it a lot because, like I said, my mother was more of a 60s Motown and 70s. That really didn't get me. So if I didn't see Marvin really look younger than he did, because after the 60s he started to wear, he started to have the beard in. So it really didn't appeal to me. So I didn't just grab to it. So. But I Want You, 1976, is a gem as well. That album is totally a gem. Amazing album. With songs like this. Everybody knows this. Sound good, don't it? Hey! Woo! I just had to let that ride for a minute. It sounds really, 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 really good. So the next song, I think everybody should know. Everybody should know this song because a group remade it, and they remade his and put his vocals in it, and I think y'all know it. G-Unit! I had to do that, but they remade it, but they decided that I Want to Be Your Lover on the G-Unit Beg for Mercy album. Yeah, so they used Marvin. So this album, I do play it a lot because it was definitely, this album is a very sexual album. It's a little bit more sexual than the Let's Get It On album, and this album he dedicated to his second wife, Jan. Now, we get to an important live album. Very important live album. Very, 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 very important live album. And it is his album, Marvin Gaye Live at the Palladium in London. And this album is very important because he went over to London because during this time, I think Marvin, the IRS was bothering him, and you know, he owed a lot of people money. He went over because, you know, in London, they respect soul music. That they really, really, really do. So he went over there and he went over there and he performed, you know, his classics over there. He performed it and he did very well with it. I just love the part with the medley that he does with I forgot her name is Florence on the album. I guess she's a background singer and things like that. And he did his, you know, duets. And he represented for Diana because he did do a live album with her, a duet album with her. And he represented Kim Weston and Mary Wells, but he only let the background singer, and they did all Tammy Terrell, and him and Tammy Terrell song. It was beautiful. The girl did her thing, and it was nice. And he said Tammy Terrell, and he left her for last, and the crowd went crazy. It was just a beautiful moment. He was like, hey, she'll like that. But this album is very important because he made the hit Got to Give It Up on this album, and he made it in Marvin's room, and he made it because, you know, everything else was live. So I guess, you know, now a lot of people start doing, because Jay-Z actually did that on his Unplugged album. At the end, he put Jigga My Nigga at the end of that album. And, you know, it was just a song. And Marvin Gaye made this. Hey! Okay, now, we know somebody clearly stole it. Stole it. Yes, they did. Yes, he did. And he, they stole it. And they tried to be sneaky about it, and they got busted. That's exactly what happened. And they don't want to pay up. And I just say this. Need I say more? But anyway, so that was a very important. So it got Marvin, and that song was actually inspired by, it was an answer to Disco Lady. And him and Jon Stewart went in Marvin's room and made that as an inspiration. They did it as an inspiration. They didn't steal the song. But I digress. But the next album, in my opinion, is a blueprint to so many albums that talks about their relationship, because this album, he put his whole personal life into this record. He did a whole album about his wife, Anna Gordy, and he talked about when they were in the courtroom. He talked about what she did, what he did. The album was dedicated to her. And let me tell you how much of a genius Marvin was. Now, you know, they had their divorce, and he said, you know, he agreed that the next album she would get 50% of the credit. Like, you give 50% of the royalties. So he went in and said, you know what, I'm going to just do a whack album, to be honest with you. Why? Because she's going to end up getting the money. But after he started, he got in there and he started really getting the album, he started getting really personal. And he felt like his fans needed that. And he really gave us an album. It's a gem, but it didn't do that well. But it's such a gem. It's in my top 20 albums of all time. It's called Here My Dear. And he has songs like I Met a Girl, and he goes through the years of when he met Anna. He say 1961, 1962, 1964, 1976, but then he has a song he got on there called Anger. He's mad. He's angry. Like, he's really angry. But my song that I like the best is That Enough? Because in part of it, he says, why do gotta spend these attorney fees? Like, he goes in, like, and in that part, he's saying he was young and he was dumb, basically, but because Anna was older than him. So I'm telling y'all, it was the blueprint to so many albums. My favorite album of all time is Mary J. Blige's My Life, and that album was clearly Puffy and Chucky Thompson and Mary and anybody, Devontae, KC, Faye, all those that was in part of that album had to get a little bit of inspiration from the Hear My Dear album. They probably didn't, they had to know, because Mary was putting her personal life, that was her life. She was talking about her relationship. That was like an entire love letter to KC, basically. And this was a kind of a love letter to Anna, but he was explaining how he felt. He loved her, but, you know, they just grew out of love, I guess. I don't know, but it's a gem, y'all. I would recommend y'all go listen to that album with songs like Clearly Here My Dear, I Met a Little Girl, Anger, Time to Get It Together, Everybody Needs Love. Is That Enough is amazing. He goes in. You feel like you're in the courtroom when he's singing this song. Like, it is amazing. Such a gem. I would definitely will tell y'all to go check that out. So after a while and after time and now that Marvin went over to London and got himself together, and it wasn't really a good time for him between, I'd say, 78 and like 81. It really wasn't a good time. His manager took him overseas to Belgium, and he ended up getting himself together. And by then, he got out of his contract with 20 years with Motown and went with CBS. And he gave us what sadly will be his last album of all time. And, now this album I do remember. I remember this 8-track. I think it was Red, and we played this a lot. This got played a lot. I know this this Midnight Love album. I know it a lot. It had the classic. Anytime you hear this. Hey. Hey, everybody know that. Once you hear that beat, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Everybody knows that classic R&B record, so classic. Marvin ended up winning his Grammy for that. And I remember his acceptance speech on the Grammys, and he said, I've been waiting for 20 years for this, and I finally got it. And he told Mona and his other son to stand up. It was a beautiful moment. Marvin definitely deserved that. After all the trials and tribulations he had to deal with the IRS and his divorce and things like that, he finally got the recognition that he deserved, and a Grammy definitely was a recognition for him. Other songs on it, which is one of my favorites on the album, and it's the last song on the album, and I think J. Cole, off his 2014 Forest Hills Drive, he used that because at the end, Marvin Gaye does this.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I sure hope you've enjoyed our new album here on CBS Records. We'd like to thank Mr. Harvey Fuqua, Mr. Gordon Banks, Mr. Mike Butcher, Mr. Larkin Arnold. Most of all, we want to thank our Heavenly Father, Jesus.
You see, I just love that Marvin was he added garden to it and added a beat to it. It was just amazing. And the reason why I say J. Cole, because J. Cole, in Note to Himself on his last song, he does all his thank yous, and Marvin did his thank yous. And I think nobody has done that before. So I think maybe J. Cole, he said he didn't have the time. But if you go back, and I'm not going to say he was inspired because he might have didn't know. But I think if you're a big music fan and you're a big soul fan and you're using a lot of samples, you would know what you're sampling and you would know what you're inspired by. So I think maybe J. Cole might know that he was inspired by that because Marvin did his thank yous on the last song and J. Cole did it. So you can tell how the old and the new can be bridged together. And that's what I enjoy. So with that album, like I said, Marvin won accolades for that album. He went on tour, and then he went back home, and he moved in with his mom and his dad, and on April the 1st, sadly, April the 1st, 1984, Marvin was killed. The day before his birthday. And he was killed by his dad. And it was a sad day because we lost an icon. We lost a legend. He was a legend. I call him and Stevie Wonder the kings of Motown in the 70s because they were running it. Between 71 and 78, it was all about Marvin and Stevie. They were running Motown. Like, it was them. Like, they were running Motown. Like, Barry, you gotta give them that respect because they kept Motown, like, you were so interested in making Diana a movie star, but they were running it with the music. They were running it. It was their world, period. And, even though Marvin passed, his music is just so legendary. And, and you know how it's so current, when the 9/11 happened, What's Going On was played all day. I remember that day when the World Trade happened and I went home and you turn on the radio and, What's Going On was played like every 15, 20 minutes. If it was What's Going On, it was Whitney Houston's Star Spangled Banner. Those two was getting played like mad. and then, you know, the popular artists like it was Destiny's Child and Nelly and Ja Rule and Britney Spears and NSYNC. They all went in and they did the all-star version of What's Going On. Now, they did it for AIDS, but it came out during around the time that the World Trade happened. It just shows that Marvin's music is current from yesterday to today. And, you know, our whole thing with the Trayvon Martin situation and the Mike Brown, I know when we heard the verdict for George Zimmerman, and I was out in Fells Point, and I was with my friends, and it was all of us. And I remember when we were in the bar, and now, you know, the bar is, you're supposed to have a good time, and nobody said nothing when it popped up on the screen that George Zimmerman was not guilty. I mean, it just, you can hear a pin drop. It felt like nobody even wanted to drink anymore. Like, that's how bad it was. It kind of changed the moment because you were so angry because that was not fair. So, you know, when I went home for the next 3 days, I played the What's Going On album from beginning to end because Marvin was saying everything that I wanted. Everything. What's happening? What is going on to our world? The inner cities, like the stuff that we deal with as black men, like it was bad and it really hurt. And I literally, like, I'm not ashamed to say it, I came home and I went to sleep because I was just so angry. But I woke up and I cried because I said, wow, it's hard for a black man. It's still hard for a black man. And Marvin made that album in '71, and we're in 2014 or 13, and that album is still relevant. It just shows you that music can cross years and boundaries and barriers. It could just cross over anything. And when you make classic music like Marvin Gaye did, it will stand the test of time. And, you know, like many artists is inspired by Marvin Gaye. You got D'Angelo. If y'all have not heard D'Angelo's The Voodoo album, he was clearly inspired by I Want You and Let's Get It On. Like, those albums he was clearly inspired by. Like, songs like Africa, and I think clearly How Does It Feel? Like, come on. Raheem DeVaughn, he's another one. Current, that's out now. Raheem DeVaughn is clearly inspired by Marvin Gaye. Clearly inspired by Marvin Gaye. I would even say Teddy Pendergrass back in '78 when he made What Closed the Door and when he got Gamble and Hep, they had to be inspired by Let's Get It On and I Want You. You know what I'm saying? Like, Marvin Gaye music, it was in anybody and everybody to this day, and I just don't think people was just as honest as he was. And he was very honest in his music, and that's why I'm so happy that he ended up making his own music in the '70s, and it was coming from him and it was coming from his soul. And you know, I wish we have a lot of artists like that now. That's why, like Kendrick Lamar, his new album that he has, you know, the Pimp to a Pimp to a Butterfly, or a Butterfly to a Pimp. I'm not sure how the title is. I brought it, and the music is just honest. J. Cole, his album is just honest. Like, I loved how he did Be Free, the song that he dedicated to Michael Brown's parents. Like, we just want the chains off. Clearly, he was inspired by Marvin. Like, it's just, Marvin crossed so many boundaries, and I love that he gets the respect he deserves. He gets the respect he deserves. And, you know, now the question is, what Marvin do I like, the 60s and 70s? And I'm going to give y'all kind of a weird answer here, but I'm really more of a 60s Marvin fan, and I throughout the video, I think I told y'all why. I'm more influenced by, I like the finger tapping and him and the Marvin and Tammy duets. Like, I like that. But he still became, and he's still one of my favorite artists, because 70s Marvin, he cannot be, you cannot put, when you talk about the 70s, Marvin Gaye's name cannot come up, especially musically. What's Going On, Let's Get It On, Trouble Man, I Want You. And those albums is just, you know how we always say Stevie's classic period? I think that was Marvin's classic period. But I'm more of a 60s Marvin fan. But it's so weird because I'm more of a 70s fan to Stevie but I like his 60s music, but I'm more of a 70s fan to him. So I don't know, but I'm more of a 60s Marvin Gaye fan, which it ain't nothing wrong with that. I love 70s Marvin, but 60s Marvin just does something more to me, and I think I heard a lot more of it when I was a kid and can't step out of it, because 70s Marvin I found after I got a little older, but I still enjoy it. What's Going On is one of my favorite albums of all time. I love it, I love it, I love it. I think Marvin Gaye is one of the greatest. He is well respected. I think when you do a song by Marvin Gaye and we know it's his song, give him that respect. Put his name on it. Like, I respect Eric Sermon when he did music, just like music. He might have used him, but he also gave him a songwriting credit. That's what you do. Or you get a production credit to Marvin. That's all that Pharrell and Robin Thicke had to do. If they had did that, they wouldn't have had no issue. But they didn't do that. And they tried to get over, and they got busted. Because I know when I heard it, I heard Gots to Give It Up. I knew that was that. But, you know, I kept y'all long enough. I gave y'all a little bit of history. And I think maybe I want to go out on a Marvin and Tammy song, y'all. I hope y'all watched the whole hour. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I did, you know, the Gaye family. I hope I gave y'all, hopefully if y'all do see this video, I hope y'all enjoy it. I hope y'all realize that I am the ones that put your father on a big pedestal above a lot of artists of all time, and I think he's great, and I'm going to go out on this, y'all. I'm out, y'all. Bye, y'all. I'm out.